Hello and welcome to Breaking Ground on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we chat to industry experts to get a view on what's happening on the ground and to learn about new trends emerging within the construction industry. This show is brought to you in partnership with Place Engage, a data-driven platform for more successful public consultation and community engagement for your next development project. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by a returning guest, Thomas Campbell, Managing Director of TA Group. Thomas, you're very welcome back. Thank you for joining us today.
Carol, thank you very much for having me back.
Thomas, I'm delighted we've had a chance to catch up because previously when we spoke, we've mentioned a few projects and it's always good to check in and see how those projects are going. But for anybody not familiar with TA Group, you might just give a little introduction to the company and to your team there and just maybe chat a little about some of the projects that you're working on right now.
Yeah, perfect. So TA Group, we were set up as an integrated design team serving mainly the public sector and the local authorities to deliver their social housing projects. So we're a team of architects, civil and structural engineers, quantity surveyors, project managers, assigned certifiers for the delivery of housing projects. So we work with local authorities right across the country. We also work with the Coillte on some projects they have, the Department of Education, the OPW, and we do a little bit in the water and wastewater sector also.
Okay, that's a wide remit. So let's break down that. Obviously, we'll start with housing because that's not only that we're still facing into this chronic undersupply, but in terms of delivery, the stats for delivery this year, we're still falling just shy of targets, but the likelihood of increasing capacity for next year is definitely coming into question. So you might just talk to us a little bit about some of the residential projects. Is it social or private, or what are you working on right now?
So it's predominantly social housing projects. We are involved in one private project that I might circle back to, based in Dublin. But yeah, predominantly social housing projects. So we work a lot with Wicklow, Carlow, Laois County, Kildare, Roscommon, Mayo, and Limerick County Council. So we're on various frameworks with those local authorities. So it ranges from being appointed as, say, solely as a civil and structural consultant or QS or assigned certifier, all the way up to providing a fully integrated design team. I suppose that's the advantage of what we do, and the concept behind setting up the business as a one-stop shop, that we can provide all the services in-house. So, for example, Roscommon County Council, we have a number of projects with them where we've taken the project from concept through planning, detailed design, and are about to appoint the works contractor. And then we'll obviously supervise the works contractor during the build and fulfill the role of assigned certifier when it's completed. Another interesting project that we're involved in is a design build delivery platform with Wicklow and Wexford County Council. So I suppose the Department of Housing are always looking at ways of increasing supply and delivery of housing and cost certainty. So one particular model they've looked at is this design build model. So the local authority will bring a project as far as planning and then issue it out to tender to a design build contractor to progress the detailed design and then obviously commence the build. The concept behind it is one, cost certainty for the client, but also an increase in turnaround or decrease in turnaround time, increase the speed of the project. So we were lucky enough to team up with KTL Construction based in Enniscorthy in Wexford. And we were successful in securing a position with Wicklow and Wexford County Council frameworks. So we started just our first project there in Tinahely in Wicklow. It's 20 units. We received gateway approval there about a month ago. So we had 2 months of intense design up front, and then mobilized the site with the aim of delivering those 20 units inside 12 months for Wicklow County Council.
Thomas, when we first spoke, it was in the early days of the business. So we're going back, 3, possibly close to 4 years now. In that time, a lot of how social housing is being delivered has changed. So you might just talk us through maybe some of the changes that you've seen over the last 4 years and particularly post-COVID.
Yeah, so I I suppose, just touching back on what I had just discussed, in terms of the delivery model and the frameworks, there's certainly a move by a certain number of local authorities to move away from individual consultancy appointments to a fully integrated design team. That's one kind of move in terms of procurement and delivery. In terms of, I suppose, design and concept design, there is certainly a push to embrace alternative methods of construction, be that offsite construction, or in the case of Tinahely, where and a few other projects, we're progressing with ICF construction. So there is, I think, an acceptance by local authorities that they have to look at this and embrace it, because the trades, the traditional wet trades, aren't there any longer, and just, I suppose, the speed of delivery and looking at all supply chain opportunities for delivery of housing, that they have looked at that and are certain to embrace it.
We've spoken a lot on this show about offsite and other modern methods of construction in terms of speeding up delivery, and we know that there's an adoption that we were still waiting for that to ramp up, and we've seen a huge improvement of that, but it's an improvement from a low base, so we're certainly not where we need to be. And whenever I'm speaking to manufacturers and those delivering whether it's 2D or 3D volumetric, they always point to the design first, so design for manufacture and assembly as being such a vital first step. But a couple of years ago, that wasn't perhaps taken into the tender and procurement process, and we know that's starting to change. But in your experience now, as you're coming through kind of with this integrated design team approach, are you starting to factor in offsite, whether it's ICF or whatever of the other MMC categories? Are you starting to factor that in then from pre-design stage almost?
Yes, we are. And I suppose we're always looking and reviewing our designs from a constructability point of view. Like we actually have one very recent example, and it was only a small project, but it was a number of units for Wicklow County Council that started off as a concept design in terms of layout and what the end user required. But as the design developed and some late information came back from the end user, all of a sudden the project and the unit got very complex from a fireproofing point of view and literally a structurability point of view. So we ended up having to pause, rethink, and kind of, I won't say start from scratch, but redesign the structure so that it would facilitate, be it a timber frame offsite manufacture or even just simplify the build on site from a fireproofing point of view. So yeah, it's, I suppose, the beauty of having an integrated design team is you can make those changes very quickly and adapt them into your design when you have your architect, your engineer, your QS all sitting around in the one office. You can make those changes very quickly and keep the project moving forward.
And actually, let's talk a little about TA Group, because you mentioned there the different disciplines you have between your architects and now an in-house QS, and of course you have a property inspection. We've spoken previously about the scale of property inspections that your company does across Ireland, but particularly in the Northwest. You might just talk to us a little bit about the company and how that's evolving. So now you've an in-house QS. What is that bringing to the team?
So since the start of 2023, we've increased. Took on 3 new staff, so we increased to a head count of 7 now. So the way it's structured, we have our 3 architects that feed in then to myself, that looks after the civil and structural and assigned certifier part of it, and then kind of parallel to me is our quantity surveyor. And then behind that we have administration staff here in the office that look after that side of things, and a building inspection technician. So, and amongst our 3 architects, we have a core competency in fire safety, which is obviously a big part of what we do. So, in terms of be it obviously new build projects, capital projects, I'm sitting here alongside the architect, and we're developing our designs, and our quantity surveyors also sitting in the office. So they're building up their BOQ and their specification. We're all kind of working hand in glove together. When it comes to our property inspection side of the business, and like I said, we inspect a lot of properties for satisfying the minimum rental property standards. That person always, when they come back to the office and we're reviewing their reports, again, I'm sitting there looking at it from an engineering point of view or a fire engineering point of view, and our architect is there reviewing it from compliance with Part K or Part M or Part B. So we have all the competencies in-house to tick all the boxes from a building regulations point of view. So it works seamlessly, it works very well, and we're supported by an external consultant in terms of M&E that plugs in when we're required. So maybe in another year or two we'll have M&E in-house as well, and we have everything in-house, but we have the vast majority and core competencies in-house, and it works well. It's streamlined. It means we can get through projects fairly quickly. It keeps our overheads down compared to, say, consultants that have to match together. So makes us competitive as well when tendering for work.
And obviously that's contributing to the wide range of projects that you're in a position to take on as well. One that I'm particularly interested in is that TA Group has been appointed as the integrated design team by Laois County Council for the redevelopment of the town centre project of Ballinakill in County Laois. So obviously there's been so much talk with the town centre first policies. We're seeing regeneration in rural villages and regional towns. It's a really exciting time. It seems to be a good time for towns to take on funding. We're seeing new regeneration officers appointed by most county councils. So it's a really interesting time for place regeneration. Talk to us a little bit about this project.
Yeah, so that project, like I said, it's based in Ballinakill. So it's a derelict building that's there for a number of years. So Laois County Council's concept for that is redevelopment of that into I think it's 3 one-bed apartments on the site. So our role in the project is to take their concept design, obviously bring it through planning, detailed design, appointment of the works contractor, and oversee the works. So we're providing architectural, civil structural, fire engineering, M&E, quantity surveying, and project management services. Now, I suppose we've done 1 or 2 of these projects already. We've done something similar with Roscommon County Council. We have 2 there. We have 1 project with Carol County Council, and we have 2 projects, actually 3 projects with Limerick County Council. So that particular project in Laois, we highlighted to the client, even as part of our tender submission, of how we could possibly maximize the site and possibly get a 4th unit on that site to the rear of the proposed redevelopment. And something that we've learned from other local authorities is, yes, you want to maximize the site, but also you don't want to create a situation where you could create a zone for antisocial behaviour or secluded areas or dead-end areas. So something that we've tried to incorporate into our designs is this passive supervision. So while you have your maybe 2 units at the front of the site, you leave a satisfactory opening that it's not an alleyway, but more of a little opening and a common area to the side of the units to the front, which then you can physically see the unit to the rear, and you have a common garden area between both. Create a little mini square, for want of a better word. That's an important part of the redevelopment, and not just numbers.
And is that particular site in town centre? Is it actually in the village?
It is, yes, yeah. It's just off the main street.
Yeah, because at the moment, I know there's a huge emphasis in tackling dereliction, tackling vacancies. But we've spoken to the vacancy officers is in certain local authorities around the country, and there really is a difficulty in identifying those, and the length of time then from when potential vacancy spirals into dereliction. There can be a long period of time before the local authority actually takes in hand, even where this is local authority land. And so that's something that we know needs to be incentivized at the moment. But in terms of delivering projects, we're seeing local authorities building up their I suppose building up the expertise in being the project owner again, because there's many local authorities that just wouldn't have done that over, maybe the previous decade. So how has that experience been for you, given that you're working with so many different local authorities?
So yeah, there's certainly a difference across the local authorities based on one, the size of the local authority, and the size of their department. So some local authorities that would have a very strong architectural department and are happy to lead projects and just bring in the various consultancies as they require. Where other local authorities, because of obviously they have to look after their own funding streams. So over the years, their housing department may have suffered from staffing levels or the level of expertise. And we've certainly seen over the last maybe 15 months, 18 months that they are really starting to invest in their staff and the number of staff and kind of rebuild those departments. I suppose it has helped our business grow because they've had no option but to outsource the design and the design team, and that's where we step in. And I suppose from a resource point of view, the local authority, they can have maybe one individual looking after a multiple of projects as the client's representative, and allow the design team to get on with the work and develop the design and progress the housing. So yeah, it's different across the local authorities. Like I said, it depends on their size and what staffing they had.
Of course. And look, I'm very conscious of your time. Thank you for being so generous and being with us today. But I suppose maybe a final question is, what does the pipeline for 2024 look like for you guys?
So a lot of our projects in 2023 were going through design phase and are now about to start on site in 2024. So from a business point of view, obviously a lot of our time will be involved in those projects on site. And then obviously the aim is to secure future tenders for 2025 that we start into the design of those. Something I've been balancing myself is to try and figure out, well, where is the sweet spot for TA Group? What are we hoping to achieve here? I have seen companies that have grown very quickly and have got to a particular size with the intention of maybe being bought out by a multinational company. I don't know if that's where TA Group will go. I do see our strength in being agile, competitive from a tendering point of view. I think to future-proof our business, if you get too big, you need big projects, and you're not going to have that in Ireland. There's a lot of companies out there. So I think the sweet spot for TA Group is that we're competitive to deliver projects from 2 to 30 housing units. So it's building maybe a team around that size that can deliver that. I would like to get more involved in other sectors. Like I said, my background initially was the water and wastewater sector, so I would like to get back to a little bit more of that, just for diversity in terms of the portfolio of projects that TA Group are involved in. So maybe that's an area we need to focus on for 2024 and 2025.
That's a really interesting one, and particularly when you talk about maybe the sweet spot, because there isn't just one right strategy, obviously. And it's interesting, only very recently I was having a conversation maybe about not just that there is no correlation, but that there might actually be an adverse correlation between the size. Once you go past a certain point, actually the margins, once you go past a certain turnover, the margins start to tighten further, and that actually there is a sweet spot for every company. And I wonder, and the question we raised at the time was, I wonder, is that only evident in retrospect? Do you only know after you've gone past it? It's interesting to hear you think about it now, in terms of the strategy, because again, you're only 4 years in. So like, if you were looking ahead to year 10, what would you expect? Where would you expect to see TA Group, or which tier would you be sitting alongside?
Yeah, I know, because when we established the business, I remember I said to a few people, I don't want to be a situation where I'm sitting looking at maybe 15 or 20 people in an office. I didn't think we'd get to a head count of 7 in 4 years. So what does 10 years down the line look like? I don't know. I still don't think kind of breaching the 15 head count is where we want to be, but who knows?
Very good. Well, look, I look forward to the next time we check in a couple of months, or hopefully towards the middle of next year. I always love hearing about your projects, getting the project updates. And I think there's been amazing growth in the company over the last 4 years, and it's been really exciting to watch along. So I look forward to checking in with you in year 5. So thank you so much for being so generous with your time today. That was Thomas Campbell, Managing Director of TA Group. My thanks to show producer Katie Tallon and to the production team at Hear Me Roar Media. Also thanks to Place Engage for making these conversations possible. And thank you indeed for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of Breaking Ground. In the meantime, please be sure to check out all of the other Irish and international construction and real estate shows on iProperty Radio.